who went out to lunch, and they decided after lunch they were on their way back home in Philadelphia, but they decided they'd drive up to Dave's house because he has a steer and they want to all look at it. So these old ladies got out of the car and they went over to the steer pen and talked all the while and giggled and laughed and carried on, scared the steer. The steer jumped over the fence and ran away.
Oh no.
Ran down Bristol Road and into the, we don't know where, never knew where the darn thing went. And here we had a lot of money invested. So that was unhappy. And it wasn't our fault because I never let the kids look at the steer. So this was in September, and we had great plans for fattening that steer. We're going to have our own beef, and it would be excellent beef, high quality beef. But we never got to try it because it ran away. Ran down Bristol Road, and we never heard a word about it until about December or November. Somebody called Happy, the same guy that took me to the hospital to have Ginny. He was the chief of police.
Yeah.
Some woman called the chief of police and said, there's this creature in my backyard. I don't know what it is, but it's trying to eat the bark off the tree, and it's just skin and bones. It might be a deer, but I don't know what it is. So Happy gets in the police car and goes down to this woman's house with his gun and shoots the animal.
Oh no.
And it was our steer.
Oh.
Months later, didn't have anything to eat or whatever, was living on scraps of bark from the tree or whatever it could get.
Oh, how sad.
It was sad because we lost all that money. And then he got help to take that to the butcher, and they made it into roasts and whatever, but it was just not even good meat.
No, because he wasn't hungry. He wasn't fattened.
But he reported it to the newspaper, so the reporters came, and they interviewed Nick, and they, well, how is it that in Northampton Township you have a ranch? We didn't know there were any ranches left around here. So they wrote up in the newspaper that the steer escaped from the Gehshan Ranch and was brought down by the chief of police, brave chief of police, who confronted the steer, in so-and-so's backyard, and it made a big story.
I bet it did.
Yep. We had a lot of laughs over that because Mrs. Petzold, whose grandparents had scared the darn thing, she said, oh, the meat was just delicious. It was so wonderful. Well, it was stringy, was tough. Well, I mean, what flavors the meat is what you feed the animal.
Yeah.
And regular steers are fed with corn and nice grain. Anyway, that was another adventure we had. And I could probably think of some more, but we did have a pretty good garden, and we really ate very well. Especially the corn was delicious, and the idea being that when our relatives came from Brooklyn, we loaded them up with tomatoes and all the good stuff that tasted so fresh and nice.
Did they come very often?
Not very often, no. They acted as if it was too far. They were just like in a foreign country. But they made all kinds of fun of Nick because he wore big bib overalls, which of course became popular later on, but they called him Farmer Nick, but I think basically they were proud of him. And he had a good education, which none of them had. But they didn't come to visit too often. But when they brought Nick's mother to stay, they'd conveniently leave her for several weeks because they were glad to have the house to themselves. And she lived on the first floor, and Mitchell and Mary lived on the second floor, and she knew every move they made. which was okay. It was
Where
her
did she stay when she came to stay with you?
When she came to stay with me was when I got a chance to sit with her, and I wrote down everything she did when she cooked. That's how I got all the recipes. She would tell Nick that she needed so many squash or whatever she wanted to make, or lamb or rice or whatever, depending on the season.
And she would teach
so
you
I would
how to...
write down exactly what she did. And if she said, pour some salt into your hand, I'd do it. Well, now her hand would be bigger than mine, or mine would be bigger than hers, but it's not an accurate measurement.
Right.
So then she'd say, it's too salty, or whatever. And she had, different ways that she could communicate to me, but she didn't speak English very well. And,
oh my goodness.
She tried.
How did she speak to the kids?
In Arabic.
Did they understand her?
Sure. Oh, that's when Mitchell, the oldest one, went to school.
No, how did she speak